Jak and Daxter, whether intentionally or accidentally, was a game made to be nostalgic. One of the last true collectathon platformers before the genre took a long rest, until being revitalized by the current indie boom, that is. Nostalgia doesn't remain profitable forever though. At a certain point, if you want to stay afloat, you have to adapt. I'm not just talking about games here, that's just life. Whether it's sounding smart at a job interview or tweaking your personality to be more likable at a party, we, along with the media we love and the people who make it, cannot afford to live static lives. Stagnation, in many ways, is a fate worse than death. But some things never truly change, do they?
Sure makes you thirsty.
Man, he's just gobbling that poo-poo. Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy to Jak II, might be one of the most excessive tonal shifts in gaming history. I mean, how do you go from this to this?
I'm gonna Praxis
In a period of 2 years. Market trends, of course. Maybe it's just because I wasn't head over heels for Jak I that I don't see this as much of a betrayal as others do. I'm not trying to be overly dismissive here either, but Jak I felt like a series of boxes that needed to be checked off for what a platformer should be. A series of tropes with no real identity. Pretty, but shallow. Jak II, on the other hand, at least it didn't just settle on one genre. Jak II is like your uncle who, terrified of growing irrelevant, suffers a very loud midlife crisis. So one day he comes to pick you up from school in a newly financed sports car, busting out hip lingo of a generation he doesn't understand, fresh off divorcing your aunt, and is now dating someone, uncomfortably young. You look at him and with your youth and short-sightedness, feel a little admiration. Your uncle's the same man he always was, but kind of cool now, right? However, your older sibling, who you generally accept as smarter and wiser, wait, maybe this metaphor is breaking down, that might be a bit too old, has doubts. But then again, you're the one who got a new skateboard and some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so hey, maybe your brother is just jealous. So let's get real. Naughty Dog gave the Scrimblow an AK and a bad attitude, then let him run loose in a cartoon GTA world. Have fun! Well, you know what? I will have fun. I like this. I'm having fun. But if I'm being honest, there's definitely a reason this video took so long to come out. Jak II, in an effort to find the missing piece of Jak I's puzzle, decided to go with the throw everything at the wall approach to see what stuck. Well, good job, Naughty Dog. Now the floor is messy, and I have to clean it up for you. Alright, I admit these metaphors are getting a bit out of hand. Let's talk about this weird nightmare game that I think I enjoy. After messing around with the gate found in the true ending of the first game, Jak, Daxter, I think Bingus and Wingus, find themselves shot through time and into the future. Right away, Jak is taken prisoner by a Mr. Baron Praxis, who runs the dystopian Haven City, and Daxter flees to go be on the PSP for a little bit. After a 2-year time skip of being tortured, he's freed by his furry little friend. And now he talks. And may I say, iconic. From here, you try to team up with various resistance and underground crime groups to overthrow the... Wait, hold on. I'm not helping build a resistance movement, this is busy work! Oh my god, this really is a Jak and Daxter sequel! The story is about as thematically deep as the original, which is to say it isn't, but just kind of about more things instead of basically nothing. Now, don't get it twisted, not trying to say there isn't value in the story. They're clearly trying to make something more engaging, and that they did. There are some themes now, as basic as they are. Some good life lessons to teach the kids here, like how cool it is to kill pigs in Minecraft. One of the biggest focuses now is on the characters, and the game made the smart decision to focus on a decently sized core cast instead of one-off disposable dudes that existed just to give you progression orbs. Let's get into them now. Jak is back. Now he wears shoes. And the best thing I can really say about him is that I guess a personality is better than no personality. He's an angry boy, a real renegade if you will.
Jack, get out of the fucking bike!
I think a certain type of person might find issue with him being a snarky quip dispenser to basically every single character he runs into in every single scene. I wasn't too bothered by it though. Not to sound all superior, but I can enjoy media that caters to my inner teenager, and if I'd played this when I was younger, I probably would have thought he was the coolest dude ever. Also, if anyone deserved to be a totally enraged vengeance machine, it would definitely be the happy-go-lucky Scrimblow that had his innocence tortured out of him. So, I'll give him a pass. But I want to get into what I think was probably the most impressive thing Jak II was able to pull off. Actually making me like Daxter. If you remember in the last video, I didn't think he worked at all. Dude was straight up insufferable. But his comedic relief lands better when surrounded by a cast with more bite to them. The setting is grittier, so Daxter feels less out of place. Since Jak talks now too and is always the edgiest character on screen, the two complement each other well and feel like a real duo. And their relationship actually feels like it goes through some development. It gets tested in spots, and they come out better because of it. And a lot of that is that I just think Daxter's better written.
We, the racers, hereby agree to give crew all proceeds from race earnings, endorsement fees, broadcast royalties, syndication residuals, vehicle sponsorships, small appearance fees, collectible card assets, fast food tie-ins, use of likeness rights, talk show deals, clothing lines, all print rights, including book, novella, comic, pamphlet, ticket tape, neon sign, and bathroom graffiti designs. Toy rights, shoe lines, mood rings, game rights. Game rights!
Corny? God, yes. Deserves to rot in jail for his crimes against women? Absolutely. But his jokes land now, and he's not in defeat anymore, so fuck it, we ball. Well, they land more often. Listen, you're reasonable, right? This is an early 2000s game with a mean streak. Of course there's a comedically overweight crime lord, and Daxter never shuts up about him. Having said that though, I think Crew is a really fun antagonist. Every scene in his bar is full of so many characters with some of the best animation you'll find on the platform. And his interaction with the main duo is fun. And the other villains? They're there. Praxis is boring, and fuck this rat bitch forever for that Haven City race.
Bye, bitch! Stay dead forever! Woo!
The returning characters are also just kind of here. Bingus was one of the only likable characters in the last game, and she is definitely here. She is contributing to the plot. She talks to both Jak and Daxter. Wow. Same with Wingus. I guess I like him meeting his younger self. Makes you go, And there's some fun payoff. On the resistance side is Torn. His character is that he gives the quests. Not gonna lie, he also didn't do much for me. My brain would tend to shut down whenever he started speaking.
Jak, I really hope you're listening to me, because we gotta hit him and we gotta hit him where it hurts. My therapist lately has been saying I need to do a better job at sharing my emotions, and I realize that you're pretty much the only one who ever talks to me, and
I do appreciate you here, even if I don't always show it. I really don't know what I would do without you, Jack. I value that you're always here.
And that's about all the characters I feel are worth talking about. They're fun. I like seeing them interact this time. And now that they're giving you tasks to help overthrow a dictatorship, makes me care as a player far more than doing errands for boring losers who, I can only assume, thanks to the very beginning of the game, all died horribly. I think this is what the kids call peak fiction. Interestingly, while Jak II might have higher stakes, I rarely felt the game wanted me to take it that seriously. The events of the story were rather predictable, but if you accept the game as sort of schlocky fun for kids and teens, it works. Oh man, who is this mysterious mute boy that looks like Jak in this time travel story? No idea. On the other hand, I think it succeeds in landing the little moments. The twist that Haven City is built off of the ruins of whatever the fuck town that the first game was set in was a fun one. And I think the mystery of Mar will be an interesting topic that I'll save for the next video. Maybe. We'll see. I think if I came away caring more, you'd probably get more out of me in this regard, but overall, it is a solid story with good characters. The important thing to note here though is that while I don't think the story holds up much on its own, I can completely understand and acknowledge the intent that Jak II is trying to tell a video game story. And no, I'm not making a blanket reductive statement about video game storytelling. I mean that this is a story that exists to further game progression. In that regard, it succeeds with hoverboarding colors. Bells right there, folks. Click it, I know you want to. Every couple missions, it feels like you're always getting a new gun, visiting a new area, or unlocking a fresh new minigame to play. Not all of this lands. Oh god, does most of it not. But you're always moving forward, and this helps keep the game from growing stale. Even in the later half, when you're revisiting older areas, you do so in a way that changes either how you traverse them or how you interact with them enough to keep it engaging. That goes a long way for anyone who ended up kind of bored with the way the first game gave you Jak's entire toolkit early on and never advanced the gameplay much. For this reason though, I don't think Jak II will be as replayable as Jak I. Hell, I actively dread starting a new game because the opening hours are such a slog until you get the yellow blaster attachment. And then you can just do this for the entire rest of the game.
Where my spin shot boys at? Let's go!
Make no mistake, I am never playing this game again. I've done my time. But for that first run, which I personally believe should always carry the most weight in critical analysis, it's a much more varied and entertaining experience than Jak I. But that's when you're not fighting with the total dogshit mission design and difficulty. I'll admit that most of the following segments on the gameplay will seem like complaining. That's because I hope we already know and accept the obvious, like Jak and Daxter games feel great to play and the worlds are cool to run around in. And I don't feel like I need to spend too much time on the obvious. Jak fans, listen. I do genuinely like this game when it lets me like it. Jak II is split into two different kinds of segments: platformer-inspired missions and open-world exploration. Haven City itself is kind of bland and empty, so with every mission being mandatory, I never found too much reason to go off the beaten path. The biggest GTA inspiration here though is the ability to jack vehicles, shoot guns, and kill civilians. Wait, hold on, I thought we were supposed to be a hero here. Mods! Mods! I could spend an entire video talking about the disconnect between jumping around in Happy Funland and gunning down innocents during a road rage, but for the most part, I don't know. I'm not immune to turning my think brain off and turning the gamer brain on. Look, wrecking havoc is fun. It would be more fun if the vehicles felt better, but still, fun! I especially love riding around Haven City in the latter half of the game when you get your hoverboard. What seems like it'd be a one-off is a pretty solid movement option that you can bust out basically everywhere. You can grind on rails and do the occasional trick, and unlike the vehicles, this thing feels great to control. Honestly, every level focused around the hoverboard as a traversal mechanic has a high chance of being one of the best ones in the entire game. Most of my time in the open world was spent either walking to a new mission or fucking around, so I didn't yet have to play a new mission. Progression has been changed to be entirely linear and mission-based, only occasionally letting you do missions out of order. The collectathon stuff is now entirely optional. Precursor orbs are now a currency to level up your new Dark Jak powers, which is...
Cullen meant to say Metalhead Skull Gems. You got that wrong. Okay, you can go back to your video now.
Alright, Jak and Daxter fans, can we have a one-to-one here? What the fuck is up with Dark Jak? This thing sucks. After a certain point, I completely stopped using this. Because after a while, every enemy shoots projectiles at you. It makes no sense to use a melee-focused form when you're just immediately going to be gunned down when you pop it. I don't know, Dark Jak just felt half-baked. Really hoping it's better in the sequel. Difficulty is a fun thing to talk about in our modern gaming hellscape, because the concept of subjectivity is more or less dead. I think a lot of my issues with the level design would be non-issues if the checkpoints weren't worse than the first game. The difficulty of Jak II doesn't feel rewarding. It feels unfair. There's a particular escort mission with this guy Sig very early on that almost made me consider dropping this retrospective, because if you fail at any point, even the end, you have to restart the entire mission. That's not the only bad mission. There are plenty of ones I could list, but won't because the list is too long. There are so many, and they really ruin how fun the game can be when you hit that flow state. How the game controls, Jak's movement, the animations, how the combat is, easily clears the original. When you're at those peak moments and just blasting and roll comboing into jump into spin shot, just fucking up dudes. It's carnage. It feels great. The movement is frantic in all the best ways, but you're constantly having to stop the action, either because you missed a dumb jump or got ganged up on by the weird enemy placement and have to restart from a faraway checkpoint, making you redo huge chunks of the levels. It takes missions that could genuinely be fun and waters down their impact until most of the game becomes frustrating out of sheer repetition. Insert complaint about the mecha segments here. Oh wait, no, I don't think I was supposed to read that part of the script. But I'll let the clip run. Like, look at this and tell me there's a god. Oh, Cullen, you're so dramatic. Yes, bitch, that's what makes me lovable. But come on, look at this. As a recently reformed Gundam fan, just know that I take great offense to this Naughty Dog. This is the A contact of painfully mandatory and half-assed mecha segments. No, I'm not gonna explain that. It's funnier if I don't. Watch Ideon, dude, it's super good. Would you believe me if I told you this game has boss fights and that they are of a quality? I think I can count the bosses I enjoyed on one finger. Baron Praxis at the Manor. Specifically the Manor, mind you. The rest are fine or really bad. But returning fans, you know this channel's principles, you know how we roll here. I'll take this over the bland nothing burger boss fights that one was doing any day of the week. I'm already bracing for the comments. This game is for babies, lol, GG scrub, you'd never survive a real hard game like Dark Souls. Setting aside that Dark Souls is that baby shit, 1v1 PvP me and Evergrace any day of the week, and your ass is about to get sauteed. You want to look me straight in the face and defend the hover bike races. And in that vein, the vehicle controls. Jak II really said, oh, the Precursor Canyon? The definitive worst part in the game? We can one-up that. Main campaign progression locked behind doing all the races. The vehicles feel even worse to control somehow. Let's go! The racing arc might just be one of the worst things I've ever played in a game. No exaggeration. Oh, fuck you. Seriously, Naughty Dog. What is this? I'm mature enough to know that game developers are almost never lazy. So genuinely, what the fuck is this? Incompetence? No, I think that'd be mean. Crunch? Likely. Malice? For the purposes of entertainment, let's go with malice. It just explains so much, doesn't it? Checkpoints? Malice. Boss design? Malice. Difficulty? Malice. Bad missions? Oh yeah, malice. Guys, I cracked the code. Game developers know what they're doing. They just hate us. Oh my. Wow. Thank you, everyone. I think we really showed all those underpaid game developers who live solely off of coffee and passion, living in the early 2000s, that we're not gonna put up with it anymore. I have so much footage of me dying in the races, either from smashing into a wall on accident or having to kill myself, since when your bike takes enough hits, it can no longer reach the maximum speed needed to win. Nonsensical rubber banding, terrible controls, and all around a bad time. Now look, I should probably make it clear, I do not actually think that game developers hate us all, and I get that they work very hard, but let me have this one. Naughty Dog, you did great. I respect your work on this game. But come on, guys, this was a bit evil. This is cathartic. Look, I know some Jak II fans are probably kind of mad at me right now, and I get it. What I think saves a ton of missions, and the reason I made it through the game at all is, again, the moment-to-moment gameplay is fantastic. Guns were something I never thought I needed in the Jak combat formula, but this is about as close to something that stuck to the wall as we got out of Jak II. Thank you, gun attachments, not you, for making Jak fun. As pointed out in other videos, I do think it's a really neat bit of continuity as well to make ammo based on the eco from the first game. It's cool. I have some gripes though. Like, your ammo count carrying over between death is a real double-edged sword. Yes, if I stocked up on ammo before a boss, I'd like to not recollect it. But also, I have used up all my ammo in this fight, died, and now I have no ammo. Guess I'll die. And yes, it's not the worst thing ever because you can get all your ammo back in the boss arenas themselves. But again, let me do my little teehee funnies. I also wish there was a way to aim or strafe, like in the Ratchet games, because you really are just pointing Jak in a direction and praying his ultra-violent tendencies know where to target. Go, Jak. Do a crime. That's my boy! Hey, maybe this will be something you'll be able to do in Jak III. Don't get me spoils, I still need to play that one for a video by 2025. I also think that the map design is pretty good. And that ties into the biggest design principle that stuck around from the first game. Jak and Daxter as a tech demo.
Oh, glass, that's cool. Never mind.
Originally, I was all set to call Jak II less impressive in this regard, mainly due to the frequent screen tearing I saw while playing this on PS2, and the increase in loading rooms, but I can respect that they were punching over their weight, pushing the system to its absolute limits. And yeah, that's right. After working through 3 capture cards and 2 living situations, I can now record my PS2 properly. Was it worth it? Well, my upscaler can't salvage how bad 480 looks, but it's probably the best I could have done without dropping hundreds on a frame meister. Once again, don't play the PS4 version. To my knowledge, it still sucks. And to kind of break character for a moment, there is something I'd kind of like to ask you all. So I recently just bought the PS3 HD collection of these games, and I'm thinking about playing Jak III for the channel on the PS3 version. If you guys would like to see the PS2 version, or if you're okay with the nice clean HD version with, from what I've heard, a couple of visual glitches, I guess let me know. I'm leaning towards PS3 simply because the PS2 is kind of a nightmare to record, and the screen tearing of Jak II drove me crazy. And I think that's all the versions of Jak and Daxter. Can't really think of any others. Oh well, moving on. Okay, so there's a moment I'd like to call out that more or less changed my opinion on the entire game. This video would be a complete roast if not for this moment sticking with me and making me see this game in a better light, even if the nutshots persisted through the entire experience. What can I say? Jak II is a game that loves dishing out CBT, and my B likes to be unteed. So the turning point for me was around the middle point, when Jak and Daxter climb all the way up to the top of the city to sneak into Prax's palace by climbing across the power cables. After hours of frustration and annoyance, this bit of walking over the city rendered below in real time as the sun began to rise. I'm telling you, I was speechless. This is the moment I became a Jak fan. Seeing the rain start to fall during the trek over, persist into the next cutscene, and then to look over and see the raindrops collect on the glass panel, and have the storm progress even further when I was back in control. This right here is truly one of those moments that converts a wannabe MLG sporter into a games as art connoisseur. Suddenly, it was like a flip switched and the game became fun. Mission progression opens up and lets you play them out of order like I mentioned earlier, encouraging you to explore the map more to find a wide variety of missions. The missions themselves, still largely bad, arguably worse in spots, but the areas are cool and you get a machine gun, so alright. I let them cook. At the end of the day, yes, all of this is linear. All of these quest lines will at some point meet back up to reach the same conclusion. But in the moment, it doesn't feel like it. It just feels like you are truly accepted into this city, and you're trying your best to save it. The story and gameplay come together, and it works really well. To loop back to that story, I do think the game's conclusion is a bit clumsy. A character who takes a very late personality heel turn predictably ends up being super evil and is the true antagonist. The endgame is also Good conceptually, but a bit frustrating to get through. And the final boss feels a bit anticlimactic. And then it ends. This credit screen is just so cathartic. Wait, whoa. Roadhead? What? Would you be surprised to hear that after all is said and done, I like Jak II? An argument could easily be made that the shift in tone and genre were creatively bankrupt, but under that hypothetical constraint, they made something truly unique. A lot of games strived to be derivative of GTA in this era, but you can't say many tried to do it while having the aesthetic of an edgy cartoon and the gameplay of a platformer crossed with Tony Glock Pro Skater. Yes, if you want to look at this, all separated from the context of the game, Jak II could be seen as pathetic pandering to a completely different audience. The Jak series could have remained consistent to its predecessor, Crash Bandicoot. Naughty Dog could have just kept iterating on the same core mechanics while keeping the game's lighthearted romps. But then it would be Crash Bandicoot. Again. And that'd be boring. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know one of the aspects of media I value over all else is risk-taking. I value ambition and art that results from just fucking going for it, man. Just the idea of playing it safe by appealing to market trends in the most deranged way possible makes Jak II an outlier. There's personality here, which Jak I didn't really have much of in my opinion. I don't think Jak II is a complete success, but the fact that it goes so far out of its comfort zone and manages to stick any sort of landing whatsoever is commendable. Jak II is no masterpiece, and even someone with bare minimum life experience can understand what it's going for. In fact, I think I understand this game far too well. See, I think back to that uncle. As a teenager, people talk about midlife crises, but the concept is foreign to you. As an adult, you can see why your uncle did that stuff and accept that, yeah, the car was actually pretty cool, and sometimes you just want to mix things up. Is that really so bad? I mean, yeah, outside of divorcing your aunt, that was a bit harsh. She didn't deserve it. She's super nice. But before this metaphor crashes into the wall, I ask this question. What is wrong with wanting to be liked? Video games aren't people, but they are made by people. People who sometimes just want to be validated. Sometimes creatives make something for the purpose of mass appeal. It's pretty common, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Somehow, by the time the credits rolled, I reflected back on a playthrough full of misery and found myself glad that Jak II exists at all. I reflected back on the jank, the crashes, the awful checkpoints, and viewed it for the people who made it. Because what is this series? And by this I mean this YouTube retrospective series, but a slightly pathetic attempt to get people to discover my channel by covering beloved PS2 classics. It was during these credits that Jak II stared me right in the eyes and asked me what right I had to judge it for its edgy whimsy as a 20-something who has definitely committed the sin of doing the YouTube gag involving me shooting a fake gun at an evil version of myself. And the answer I gave it is that it was right, and I would have never come to this conclusion if Daxter hadn't eaten the poo-poo on camera. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Hey there, thanks for watching. Lots of thanks to give, so let's just get right into it. As always, thank you to Supreme Zerker for editing the script. Thank you to Hot Cider for the thumbnail, the beautiful GC Vasquez for that cameo, Shibuya Gato for drawing the Wodax, and Sylphie for drawing Do a Crime Jak. And if you are not aware, this channel is supported via Patreon. If you'd like to get your name in the credits, see videos 3 days early, and maybe even get a vocal shout out at the end of every single video, check out the link below to find out more. This month's Metal Royal Slimes are Alex Austin, Autumn Jennings, Inoravan, Happy Emmons, Hornkerling, I Frozen Ace, Jeremy DeForest, Looping Pyre, Moon Watcher, Renteka Bond, Snigs, Wayne is Boss, and your friend Chuck. Thank you all again for your patience. This video took a long time to make because Jak II tried to kill me. See you all next time. Bye bye.